Welcome to From the Tower, a podcast dedicated to the pride of EA Band by two band directors who have nothing better to do than record their after-school ramblings.
That's it. Thank you, Coach Brownfield. My name is David Gambino, the assistant band director at East Ascension, and I'm joined, like I mentioned, by Coach Brownfield, our wonderful producer, and Mr. Charles Lee, our head director. Charles, we're back for season 2.
Look, we've been talking about this for so long. Like, I didn't think we'd ever actually get to be back in here.
I know. So we started this project during COVID. You know, when bands went home, when everybody went home, we're like, we got to keep this stuff alive. We're bored. What else are we going to do? Let's get together and do like everybody else did during COVID and create a podcast. And we had a couple episodes, and the kids loved it. And, you know, then we went back to being regular people and going to do regular things.
And like, even to this day, like, they're still... When are you going to do another podcast? When are you going to do like
every
kids,
year?
Like kids who were still in middle school who weren't even in the Pride of EA yet were like, "Hey, I heard there's a podcast I listened to because Coach Brownfield, we posted everything on our website, and so they just go on there and they listen to all this stuff and they're excited about it and like, well, we keep promising, gonna do it.
Oh yeah, when we announced to them that it's coming back, well, they kind of knew already because they were like, "Oh, Coach Brownfield's got the EATV thing," which, by the way, this episode is sponsored by EATV. They were like, "Are y'all doing the podcast with EATV?" And we're like, "Yes, we are." And they lost it. They had such a good time. So we're gonna try a couple different things this year. You know, as we get our sea legs back under us and figure some things out, we're gonna have some different segments. Starting with our first segment called the Downbeat.
Downbeat. What's happening now? What's happening now, Mr. Gambino?
So what's happening now? We just finished up, you know, we're 3 weeks into school, so we quote unquote just finished up with band camp and getting everybody ready. And as most, you know, band people know, there's a lot to do. When we are responsible for a lot of things, and, you know, we have to onboard, you know, a ton of new kids every year. So we have to take the time during the summer to have band camp, just like football has football camp, or, you know, any other organization that meets for an extended period of time has an onboarding process or a teaching and learning process. So in July, we have band camp. And I think this year was very successful, especially with our new format that we tried.
Right. Yeah. So we had talked about this for a while. When I was in college in Louisiana Tech, we had stations, you know, so when you come to band camp, like, you already know how to play, but then we have to teach you how to march, and then we have to teach you how to march and play, and then we have to teach, and it's more than just running around the field, you know, much like any other sport, you know, like, you have to know the ins and outs to make it all come together. And so what we would do is we would have a station for marking time and a station for marching 8 to 5, another station for how to roll step, which is, you know, how we actually step left to right, another station for how to come to a and setting horn carries and all the different things. And so it does a couple of things. You know, it breaks up the time a little bit to where, like, you feel like you're always progressing towards something rather than just humdrumming for 4 hours straight. And then 2, it actually gave us the extra added benefit of getting kids in and out of the heat regularly throughout the first 4 hours of band camp, so they, you know, basically didn't die. It's been so hot this summer.
That saved us this year with it, and we'll get to the heat later with a segment we're bringing back, Mr. Lee's rants. But yeah, it saved us this year with the heat. You know, we were able to get really quality instruction done by our student leaders. We're a very student-led organization. You know, we have our kids do, I would say, you know, on that kind of stuff, 70 to 80% of the work with teaching and learning and instructing. We were able to get some really good quality instruction, and the kids felt like, and the leadership felt like, they were able to kind of pinpoint and focus with, like, exactly, like, okay, this one student is making this mistake. How can we fix it? And they were able to do that, you know, in these smaller groups, rather than we got a whole bunch of people on the field and I'm just barking out orders and, you know, trying to get people to do it as best as possible, and then people are falling out left and right because they're not hydrating and are not eating breakfast and things like that. So we kind of mitigated some of those issues by switching to this new format, and I think it's helped us. I actually think we've retained kids better than we would have in the past too.
I didn't even think of that. I think you're right. 'Cause
What?
Normally we have at least 3 or 4 that drop and go home before
Yeah.
band camp even over.
Before we get after day one, there's some couple kids that are like, this isn't for me.
We lost 2 this time, I think.
Yeah, we only lost 2 instead of like 4 or 5, which is great. And that brings us to our next point. We're bigger than we've ever been, at least you and I working together. We
Yeah.
had 140, if not 141, 142 this year.
Yeah.
Strong.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as a matter of fact, when I got here in the 18-19 school year, I inherited 122, and then we had about a 120 the next
Yeah,
year,
we stayed around that.
and then we fell to 116 in the COVID era, like after the lockdown and stuff, and then we jumped up to 130 last year. Now we're 140. So somehow on the other end of COVID, we're gaining members where a lot of people are losing them.
Well, I think it has a lot to say with what we're doing and how the band is perceived.
Oh, yeah,
of
for
course,
sure.
but absolutely, it's in our great middle school directors too. Woo. So it's insane that we have this many kids and this many kids that want to be there too.
Right.
That's always a struggle. Sometimes kids don't feel like their parents are making them do it, or they did it in middle school, so they might as well do it in high school. But this group, man, like down to the last person, everybody feels like they want to be here, and they are waiting for that first football game. Like we were talking about it the other day with our drum major, Caden. He says once we say once you get to that first football game, it flies. But leading up to that point, it's just like this long wait to get there.
And something else he said, and that's Caden Armin, our senior drum major.
Shout out.
He says that I hear him telling the underclassmen all the time, like, look, practices are a drag, band camp wears you out, but it's 100% worth it.
Yep.
You just have to make it, because then once we get to that first football game, that first pep rally, that first thing, nothing can replace the energy and excitement that comes from playing at a football game, and then it's all worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of football games and pep rallies, another new thing that we want to talk about in our downbeat today is the fight song has lyrics.
Surprisingly enough,
And
they do.
we're making a big deal about it because it is a big deal. Both of us went to high schools that had fight songs with lyrics, and colleges with lyrics, and that's like a mandatory must. And so when both of us got here, it was like, I can't believe they don't have fight song lyrics, And we started talking about it with Miss Andrews over the past couple of years, and we're like, all right, well, maybe we'll write some lyrics. And Miss Carter, one of our art teachers, goes, no, there are lyrics, and she dug them up. And I know that Mr. Schexnayder is going to have a whole write-up on it, but it's so fascinating that we were able to pull this thing out from, resurrect it, and we're going to bring that culture back to EA.
And it was so surprising that it almost got lost, because with EA being, like I always say, the school that you see in the movies, with such rich traditions and past and history and all the things that we do, even the people that you would have thought, like, I asked Miss Avery when I got here, I asked Miss Andrews, I may have even asked Coach Brownfield at one point. Nobody knew. No one had an idea. And clearly I should have asked Miss Carter to begin with. But, but I'm not from here. I had no idea that she was a Spartanette back in the day, and so, we're a kind of place that we should be adding traditions, not losing traditions,
Exactly.
especially something as serious as a fight song.
I can't wait for that first game where some grandparent or parent who is familiar with the lyrics to like hear everybody, and it's going to take a couple games, of course. We're going to talk about it in the pep rally, I'm sure, but to see those parents go, hang on, wait, I remember this, and like, oh my gosh, I haven't thought about this in forever.
Well, and too, like if you heard the old recordings of the fight song over the intercom, or we have the luxury of having the scores and the sheet music.
Yeah.
There's the whole fanfare section at the beginning that hadn't been played in forever, and part of that is those 3 fermata held notes for just start the.
Exactly.
And now we've even brought that back, so we're actually playing more of the composed song, not just adding
Wait. What'd you say there? The 3 what?
fermata held notes. So a fermata is a musical term.
Let's help our non-band people here out.
So every rhythm, every note has a duration that you have to hold it based on what the symbol looks like. But there's another symbol that looks like a bird's eye that goes above it. It's called a fermata.
It means you hold the note for double the length, but every band director and musician in the world interprets that as hold it until we're ready to be done with it.
Right. So we tell the kids, what does this mean? watch.
Yep.
Because
Well,
we'll tell them how to.
That's one of the big jokes in the band director world. What does adagio mean? Watch the band director. What does allegro mean? Watch the band director. What does fermata mean? Watch the band director. What does retardado mean? Watch the band director.
Right.
Not that they actually follow that, but I really quickly would like to run through the lyrics of the fight song.
Yes,
Okay?
yes.
Just start the game to watch the mighty Spartans fight, fight, fight to win. With spirits high, their chance to fame and fortune. Time and time again. Let's give a cheer to let them know we back them all the way. And when the game is finally ended, victory, EA. And then we go into our normal chant that everybody knows after that.
So we could probably just pipe that in over the PA after every score, like what you just did right
Yeah.
there. We have it now. We have that. So
And you know,
just play my audio of me going, just start.
just
the
until everybody,
well,
you know,
everybody
I mean,
gets it.
also, I got invited to go to a I almost said rehearsal, a cheerleading practice the other day, and the coaches in there say, "Hey, you've been talking about this for a long time. Just to let you know, you are heard. Trust me. Watch this." And the cheerleaders were doing their routine to the fight song, and they were singing the words. on
Oh,
that.
yeah.
So the cheerleaders already have it. You know, most of the band already has it. The yell leaders already have, or most of them have the words already.
Yeah.
So like it's like
It's gonna be
we
there.
pushed and we pushed, and it's spreading like wildfire now. So like, but people in very, very soon are going to forget that it was almost lost. This is going to be another thing that we do here.
it's really crazy. In all my time here, nobody ever really said anything about it. Like we never had anybody come to us and say, "Hey, there's words to that." Like, and a lot of us wondered, and it was a passing wonder. And of course, you guys, it's going to be more acute because it's what you, it's a bigger part of what you do every day. But you know, it amazes me now looking back that there wasn't more of like an outcry for this. Like, you know, 'cause they had to remember at some point it was something that was sung, and it's just been a just giant enigma forever for us. So
And-
it's really cool to have that figured out after all these
And
years.
you know, not to toot our own trumpet, pun
Where's the
pun is totally intended there. Of course, he has that one.
Sorry, no trumpet, just trombone there.
But I mean,
I'm proud of you for knowing that as a trombone.
yeah, very good. But I think it is a testament.
It says
you
it right
know,
here on the.
All right, Brownfield,
And-
trying to give you points there, buddy.
and evidence of, like, you know, having the right people in the right positions.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not one to say anything about what happened before us and the faculty that we have here now, but you have, you know, two band directors as a team that care about things that the band is supposed to do. We have people like you, Coach Brownfield, that care about the history
And Miss Andrews.
and then Miss Andrews pushing everything. You know, without this
And Miss
team,
Minge and-
it's really easy. You know, like, we're good at the music side of stuff. You know, you're good at the history kind of side. Miss Andrews is good at just pumping everybody up. If one of these cogs in the machine broke a tooth or wasn't here, like, could we all pick up the pace? Or I hope somebody could. You know, I know of other schools in the area, not just Ascension Parish, that don't have this kind of stuff.
Yep.
You know, and so good on all of us for making sure that things like the fight song lyrics and other traditions that we create along the way can happen.
All right, let's get to our next topic, show news. This is the segment where we talk about our marching shows. And for today's segment, we want to talk about the fact that we have two different types of shows. Right? So every football game, you're expecting to see something at halftime, right? Whether it's the homecoming presentation or senior night, or every other game, the band playing something. We believe, Mr. Lee and I believe, that every student needs to be involved always. So in what some other groups have done, they have a competitive show that they take to competitions and compete with it. And, you know, we want our best marchers and best performers out there. So not every student would get to participate for that. So we wanted to make sure that we included every student. So every home game, we have what we call a spirit show, which is where all of our students in every aspect of band and color guard march to an assigned drill that matches with a piece of music that we select. So, for example, this week's show is going to be to Industry Baby and E.T., Katy Perry tune, and Lil Nas X, a little mashup. And every student goes out and they learn how to go from point A to point B and what to play from point A to point B, and then we put it together and string all those different segments together to create a spirited show that is entertaining for that football crowd.
Yeah, and just to kind of reiterate what you were saying, a lot of this came about was, being very, very unhappy in how we were doing our competition show, because the competition show was the halftime show and all these other things. Well, when you're competing, you got to put your best marchers on the field, that sort of thing. But I personally had a problem with having things like alternates, your sideline kiddos who, are either understudies or shadows or something. And at the end of the day, your parents just want to see their kids on Friday night.
Yep.
They don't all care about competition. Most of them do, but some don't. And sometimes they can't come to the competitions, and it's a different kind of experience for sure. And
Pardon the interruption. This is just a reminder.
It's a reminder.
Seniors at both lunches, if you need to stop by. Also after school until 6 p.m. Thank you.
So I just, I felt bad having kids not participating, because with that kind of model, there's a chance that someone could spend 4 years in band and never actually march a halftime show.
Yeah, exactly.
So now with the Spirit Show, everyone is involved, regardless of what your capability or ability level is. And then I feel less guilty about having alternates on the field for the competition show.
Yep. And speaking of competition show, this year we're doing something special with our competition show, which is our second type of show that we do that is really focused on competing. We take it to festivals, we take it to marching contests, we compete against other bands for high scores based on every category. We're doing something special and something very special for you, a Metallica themed show, because Metallica is having a contest to win $25,000.
Right.
And so we've gone all in. Every song that we're doing in this competition show is a Metallica song. There's a Metallica theme. Oh, yeah.
For whom the bell tolls.
There's a Metallica theming and props and silks and uniforms and things like that. And I'm going to go ahead and make the pitch now. November 3rd is the Dutchtown football game. It's also 8th grade night. We're going to be filming our show to send in for the competition that night. So make sure you are there to help support and be a big crowd presence during that game.
Yeah. And, I can't say that I ever would have picked a Metallica show, because that would have been too personal for me. But, we had another show picked out, actually.
Yep.
And when Metallica came out with I saw the commercial for it on YouTube. I'm like, nope, here's what we're doing.
Yep.
And we trashed that show, and then we sat down. And normally our creative process is very 50-50, 60-40. I'll have an idea. Mr. Gambino is pretty much the visual guy. He has more of the artistic sense than I do, and I tend to lean on his expertise on that. But this one, clearly, I have the Metallica expertise.
Oh, absolutely.
And we just went to that cinema concert the other day, and
Which was a lot of fun.
And I don't know if you noticed, but I pretty much knew, like the back of my hand, most of those songs. I was even talking about, is he going to play this? Is this one going to do that? And it's just,
It surprised me how many you got right. This was going to be next. Okay, that one's going to be next. Okay, that one's going to be next. Even with the new stuff that they put in there.
And so I had a kind of an idea of how I wanted it to go from beginning to end. We're going to start with this song because that's what they normally do. And here's this middle song, and let's do a mashup of these two. And we should superimpose this under. I'm trying not to give away too much. The band kids.
Oh yeah, we're not going to give it away.
And and then of course you were like, well, instead of superimposing it here, let's superimpose it there. And then so we've got we've got it all down now, and we're really trying to mimic a Metallica concert.
It's surprising how well these songs fit for marching band.
Yeah, really does.
Rock usually translates really well, but there's some really great moments in this writing and in this music that are going to be a lot of fun, and I think everybody will have a blast with it.
And also in true EA and Pride of EA fashion, there's going to be crowd involvement at some point during the show. So if you're at that football game, for the Dutchtown football game, make sure you go sit in the home side so you can help us out.
All right, let's skip Gearheads this time. Let's just go to your rant.
Oh, look, let me tell you about this.
Hang on, let me give you an intro for it.
Oh, sure.
and welcoming back one of our favorite segments, Mr. Lee's Rants. Mr. Lee, what's on your mind?
Look, heat is what's on my mind, because I never would have thought that we'd be in a position to where we have to look at a wet bulb global temperature. Like, what? I mean, I know it.
Same. I didn't know what
I'm
it
like, I know what that is now, but what is that? Like, it's hot. You know, we have heat index, we have what this is, and then all of a sudden we have wet bulb global temperature. Wet bulb global temperature, 92.1, sun rays and heat from the ground and ambient temperature and wind and all these. It's frustrating. And not only is it frustrating, it fluctuates. 30 seconds is going to be 98 point this. 2 minutes later, it's going to be 92.1. Do you go inside? Like, by the time you get inside, it's already cooled down enough. You get back outside, it's warm enough again. Then, finally, it cools off enough this week. And the other little guy that we forgot about, lightning. The alarms go off, and then inside we go. We went back outside. We thought we were going to do it, and then it... I actually got a chill. I heard that beep and got aggravated. Thanks a lot for that. So yeah, that's my rant for this week. Like, it's hard to do our job. I see the football players out there doing that. I have struggling the same way. It's ridiculous. I just want to go outside and do my job and not have to worry about things like weather and heat.
All right. Did anybody think about a question that they wanted to ask us? No. All right. We'll save it. Murph, you got one? Great. All right.
Let's go. Yeah, go with let's go with like songs you play like in the stands. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Let's see what happens there.
All right, so a new segment that we're going to pilot this year called Civilian Questions. This first one comes to us from old Uncle Murph. Uncle Murphy over there, his sister's in band. And so he asks us, how do we choose the songs that we play in the stands?
You want to talk about the new one?
Sure, we could talk about the new one. What's the new one?
Unholy.
Oh yeah, I was like, well, there's so many new ones. So we pride ourselves in listening in liking a bunch of different styles of marching band and a bunch of different aspects of marching band. One of the genres that we like is HBCU, historically
Absolutely.
Black college and university groups. They always give super spirited, super impactful, big performance
And
tunes.
they're loud and full of energy.
Exactly. And so in scoping the internet, you know, we're always on the lookout for what's that new song. And even before that, I heard this new Sam Smith tune, Unholy, and I was just like, man, this thing hits. Like, it's got tons of, you know, like brassy kind of sounding things, very easy rhythms. You know, so we want to select something that's, one, going to be in the appropriate registers for our students, have the right vocabulary for our students and music vocabulary, and have the right energy, you know, and that's always what I'm listening for when I listen to pop music. You know, we want to pick stuff that the kids are going to enjoy,
Right.
that the fans are going to enjoy, and that our football team is going to get hyped up to.
And we got this from Carolina
Yeah,
A&T.
Carolina A&T.
So Mr. Walker, if you're listening to this, I know you're all about the Southern Jukebox, but I'm a MEAC fan.
Oh.
So
The swag versus the MEAC.
The swag can take a back seat for now.
So, Uncle Murph, to answer your question, you know, we're listening for what gets everybody going, what gets everybody hyped up, you know, and what fits our band the best.
And not only our band, but the student body and the climate and culture of EA.
Absolutely. All right, we got 2 segments. We can get them done real quick.
All right.
All right. Based off of a popular game that we played this summer at band camp, Mr. Lee, what's on your playlist?
Well, clearly, in theme of what we're doing right now, Metallica is pretty much on my playlist. Something that this show has done for me, it's kind of reinvigorated me listening to music on a regular basis. Because the one thing about being a music teacher is sometimes I just want to be quiet when I go home. And so now I'm listening to a lot of my old favorite stuff, like I used to, almost like I did when I was a teenager. And so I've been nonstop listening to Metallica tunes, live Metallica tunes. Like, I'm just all over the place with it. But that's pretty much what I'm listening to. What about you?
New Orleans football. It's Saints football season, so that's just been on my playlist constantly. But also Louis Armstrong is I've been going back to the trad jazz roots, and you know, I need to get my clarinet chops up, and so that's been on my playlist.
That's traditional
recently.
jazz.
Traditional
by the way.
jazz. Yeah.
St. James Infirmary.
Great
It's one of my
tune.
favorite songs of all time.
It's a great tune. And Pops is the man when it comes to listening to old school tunes like that.
Cool.
All right. And our last segment, as always, will be the upbeat. What's coming up? So one of the things that we want to talk about is our football games coming up this week. We have a new menu item, the hot tamale. Yes, the New Orleans style hot tamale.
And they're good. They're so good.
Oh yeah, Mr. Lee ate 27 of them the other day, so our supply is now shortened because of that. Thank you, sir. But please make sure you visit our concession stand. Our band parents work very hard to bring you the most quality ingredients at the right price for your football experience. They got your Powerades, your waters, your jambalaya, and your brand new hot tamales. You can get 3 for $4.
And that definitely sounds like a sponsorship, but technically, that's the Band Boosters running the concession, so
That's
we
it.
are sponsored by them. So there's this shameless plug.
Exactly.
And then obviously, also what's coming up is we got a pep rally and our first game against Zachary tomorrow. We're going to play all of the new songs of the game tomorrow night. You're going to see us on the field. We're going to perform and move to Industry Baby. You're going to hear us play for the Spartanettes at halftime, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Zachary has a great football program, and they got an even, in our opinion, of course, an even better band program. We're very good friends with their band directors, and so we love to play a little cat and mouse back and forth in the stands with.
We even took their
songs that
Choppa style.
We did take their Choppa style. So
We made it better though.
well,
They don't do it like we do.
well, Mr. Donnie decided to get a little creative with it too. So
Oh.
he likes to throw a little stuff back
Okay.
and forth. So we have we're going to have a good time Friday night. We hope to see you there. If this podcast comes out after, we hope that you saw us there. And we will see you next time on From the Tower.
See y'all later.
See you then.